Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Bitcoin. Now before I get into today's count, I'm just going to play a little bit of yesterday's video. First of all, we were looking for a 5-wave impulse to the upside because we came to the 1.618 extension of wave 1 off wave 2. But I did suggest the alternative if it didn't work out, and I'm just going to play that right now. Currently correcting this entire move, so we'd expect this to kind of drag out a little bit. And we'd get a 3-wave move here, ABC. This would probably become more complex. This would be an A, B, C, or W, X, Y down to here. Then we get a matching leg there. Make a correction in a trend channel here, sideways channel, and then come down. Something like this. And I say that because, as you know, if you watch my videos, I always talk about time fibs, so this would end up look. All right, so that was from yesterday's video. So this was the trade setup I took. As you can see, we most likely made that WXY I suggested yesterday, pretty much to the exact scenario we were expecting there on the alternative. But I took this trade setup because it was about a 4.5 to 1, very tight stop. If this was a 4th wave, we were right down here, looking just for the 200, looking for this to complete a 1-2. Obviously that didn't work out. That's why we use our guidelines there for our trade setups, so we don't risk too much and we know when we're wrong. So as of now, this is now an ABC, obviously. And the reason also that I took this trade is because we came to the 1.618. Probabilities were on our side. You have to understand that. Usually in ABCs we get 1-to-1s, so we'd expect it to stop there, in which case I would have never taken the trade. But because we came to a 1.618, it was more likely a 3rd wave than a C wave, if you understand what I mean there. So we've come back down to our trend line here. We're retesting the top side of it, and there is still multiple scenarios that can be playing out here. And we have to discuss all of those. I've mentioned before how difficult it is to trade 3-wave patterns because there's so many options available. That's the problem with them. Now, first of all, I'm going to take our time fib again like I did yesterday. And if we are correcting this entire move to the downside, we're looking to come into that area for our pivot. So I'm going to leave that up just to be paying attention where the waves are at that time. But there's our all-time highs up here. And if you know, we've been tracking multiple different counts. One has this as a 4th wave, in which we bottomed and looking for 5 waves up to complete a larger 3rd wave. And target for that was up at around 77,500. So that's technically still in play. Because you have to realize we are in a 5th wave, and what can you get in 5th waves that you can't get in, say, 3rd waves? You can get diagonals, which are a series of 3-wave patterns, ABCs, right? ABC, ABC, ABC. So that's the issue. We're either getting like a WXY or creating a flat where we expect 5 waves up, and then we collapse, and we're correcting this entire wave previous, and we expect the downtrend to continue. Or we can get a diagonal to the upside. This is why they're very difficult to trade in real time. A lot of times I just avoid them altogether unless it's near the bottom of a trend like I'm trying to do with ICP, because the upside is potentially very high and we're at the end of a trend starting potentially a new one rather than at the end of one here in Bitcoin for a 3rd wave. So there's 2 ways to play these diagonals. When they come really deep, I look for the 1.236 and the 382 and then the 168 for our 5th. So I will map those out for you. If they're really shy, like an ICP where we get shy retracements, I just look for the 618 and the 786. That's the adjustment I make when we make a deep one versus a shy retracement that just comes to like the 50 or the 382. This one looks like it's at the 786 currently, but I'll verify that right now. pivots. All right, got to get right on the pivots. Extend those out. Let me see if we're at the 786. Not quite, right between. So we'll see if we get one more push down here. So I also pulled from the top down to our low here, and that's the 618. So if we do come up, say we get one more low here, and we do come up and come right around the 618, or depending how low we come, again, I'd like to see around the 1-to-1 if it's a C wave. Put that in red so we can see that better. It's technically valid as soon as we pass the 618 as well, but at least obviously make a higher high above that potential A wave over here. So I'm going to label two things on here that I'm tracking. You can do this yourself on the 15-minute if you're trying to learn. And obviously I'll have to re-pull this pivots based on how low this goes. So that would be our ABC. Now, if we make a diagonal, again, we expect ABCs, but we expect just continuation. To the 382. Back, we might overlap, we might not, we don't have to. And then up to the 618, which comes just shy of our target there. And these would be in a series of ABCs. Like so. So we 100% have no idea which correction we're going to get or which move we're going to get next. You have to understand that. I'm not trying to predict the future. I know that based on which path we get here, based on guidelines and rules, that we can get on the right page. That's the whole point of this. And to get good risk reward entries. So I would argue currently there's a pretty good risk reward to the upside. Now, where do we have issues? Again, this is where Elliott Wave is helpful, but can also be very frustrating to trade with if you don't know what you're doing. Remember, we can also get a flat. That's the issue here. So we put on our B and X zone here for running flat scenario. And we can come all the way down to this zone between the 1.236 and 382 at 58,185 and 59,180. Come back, make a 1-to-1 of this previous move. So lower low, but we make a lower high. This becomes a correction in itself, and then we get continuation to the downside. So you can see why these are very difficult to trade, because we have all those scenarios possible. So that's why I suggest sometimes just waiting for a bottoming pattern. I don't see one currently. And what that looks like is either like a break of previous resistance as support. Say we get something like this. Say this isn't complete, and we just come down in some sort of diagonal on the very micro, like the 5-minute chart, but then we get a nice reversal, very strong move, very small candle like here, how we reversed above this previous resistance, and then we can wait for the pullback. And what I do sometimes there is actually let the market come to me. So if I get a move up and I get a pullback, I'll actually wait for the market to come and break the high again, come and break this high, and then I'll just put my stop at the last pivot. Because if that's a 1-2, we shouldn't come and retrace that area, right? So I use that as, I use guidelines and rules of invalidation levels. If this is a wave 3, we can't come back in and below wave 2 territory, right? That's where I might take a trade. And I might just target the 1-to-1 because I know both of these options are possible. So that's one way I'd trade it. But it's very real time. That's why it's difficult in these videos to give you a successful trading method in these exact circumstances. I just want to show you what I'm looking for. Again, if we come down between the 1.382 and 236 of this A wave and make some sort of flat pattern where we're anticipating this, I would argue this does need a partner leg here. Needs a matching wave, right? I would be very expecting that move to happen. So what you can do in that situation, if you want to take a risk, is B wave shouldn't come past the 1.618 extension, which is at 56,611. So if it's drifting down here and very close to that level, right between the 1.236 and 382 is ideal, you can trigger in there and just put your stop at the 1.618 because you're wrong that it's a B wave at that point. So I hope that's helpful. And then you just be playing the 1-to-1 for taking profit. If you're able to get that trade just past the 1.618, you'd be looking for the 1-to-1 extension of this first A wave for the B off our C, right? Again, another like over 2-to-1. So these are methods I use in real time down at micro levels to trade these. So that's why it's difficult when, I'm doing an update on Bitcoin. We have a 3 wave and there's all these possibilities. So we'll see what we get here. I do not see a bottoming pattern yet. Again, look at previous bottoms if you want to see how they form and pivots yourself. It makes things a little bit easier to see what to expect. So just go back and back test exact pivot points, even just B waves. If you can go back and relabel B waves, right? And just see how they look. And you'll be able to have evidence-based theories as you go, pivot levels, etc. But right now, looking for a bottoming pattern, break of resistance, and I'll probably look for rebuy. Again, I might wait and trigger in, stop at the previous low. It's usually what I do in these situations. Or if we just keep coming down, I'll look for that B zone, stop at the 1.618. I'll be targeting the 1-to-1. But again, these are only scalps. And if we get a bottoming pattern here, reverse above, and I get that long, I'll see what the reaction is up at the 1-to-1. Again, I might let it run for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th if it looks like that's what we're getting. Based on the wave count we actually get here and the speed of this, because there's indications we will get, right? A C wave, rather than a 3rd wave and a diagonal, will look a little bit different. C waves can drag out a little bit. It might take longer than this A wave, where this 3rd wave should happen pretty quickly. So just things, little differences that do matter in the count. So I hope this was helpful. I'm not sure which one we're going to get again, but what's nice is there is a pivot here for 2 counts to the upside. And if we keep dragging down here, I'm expecting at least a matching leg here for this A wave. All right, guys, so we'll see what we get. That's my in-depth view of this. And we'll see what we get, and I'll be looking for entries. I will let you know if I do get in. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.